Mindy says, I love hearing creative and outside the box things therapists are doing, both to diversify income, but just to keep learning and fresh. Oh, I love it. And I love that it's not just like to fill up your client load, that it's, to diversify income. So let's talk about a few different ways that people are diversifying income um, that are therapists, because that's who our main audience is here at Practice of the Practice. So a few different areas. So first, some creative ideas in regards to within the practice. So within the practice, is not super out of the box or creative, but looking at your current client load and saying, what are the needs that they have that I could serve better? I could maybe do a weekend intensive. Maybe I could do some sort of group work that it could be short lived. It could be a 4 week, weekly group. It could be long lasting. Are there certain kind of ancillary services that we could offer that go beyond just what we've been offering? So that could be, if you need to offer nutrition management, it could be that you add a massage therapist to your practice. It could be a number of different things that then are additional services that go beyond your own time. So you want to start with, where is it easy? In general, where is it easy? I was just talking to a former consulting client, and their practice was exploding, and they had raised their rates to a rate that they thought was just so high, and that rate, they felt like they couldn't keep going past that rate, so they were going to start doing some consulting in a particular field. But for that consulting, they were going to get paid less than their counseling, and it was a harder sell for people. I just said to this person, just go where it's easy. If that takes that much work to get people to consult with you, to get paid less, maybe we just need to kind of optimize your practice, join group practice launch, get the group practice going, and then make it easy. And then we can just start with kind of a blank slate instead of saying you have to start with this consulting. So go where it's easy. So next is taking kind of the skills that you already have. So first we're starting with internal practice, the skills that you already have. Now we're looking external of your practice with the skills that you have. And so that would be, taking the fact that you are a trauma therapist, and how do you go beyond your practice? How do you go, beyond that into the world of podcasts, the world of e-courses, the world of membership communities? So each of these things has its own kind of way of doing things and way of being monetized. So on a podcast, depending on your listens and your audience, depending on the podcast, you can make $100 an episode all the way up to thousands of dollars an episode, depending on the audience size, depending on how clear of a niche you have. Uh, that can be a way to earn money. As well, that can be a good lead magnet as a podcast, where if you have a few hundred people on an email list, and then only 5% convert into some sort of coaching or course, that's 10 or 20 people that are new customers. And if you can do that in more of a group model, then that can start to kind of add up as well. And so e-courses can be a great way to continue to kind of sell your knowledge, sell your hacks. We are past the information age, and we're in the implementation age. And so if you can teach people to implement something faster, they will pay for that. They don't just want information that they could Google or go watch a YouTube video. You want to say, here's how you can implement things faster. So say you teach parenting all the time. How do you help people become a better parent in 14 days? Like, what's the intensive that people could do? Could they pay $1,000 and be in a group with 10 other people, and for 14 days you just meet every day for 90 minutes, and then maybe have some Q&A time or some office hours? So, there's lots of creative ways that you can take what you internally know and use it externally from your practice. And then the next area is really looking at areas external of your practice that really has nothing to do with therapy. Excuse me. So, some examples of this are looking at multiple streams of income in a number of different ways. So, one that I've been exploring, and again, I'm not an accountant, I am not a bookkeeper. This is speaking from my own knowledge, my own understanding, and I take on no liability for what I'm saying in regards to you making your business choices. So my attorney always makes me say that stuff. And I say it just because I want to protect myself and my business and make sure that you know that you're making your own decisions for yourself. So in property, I mean, that could be that you have an Airbnb. We have two Airbnbs, and they've been great. They gross over 100 grand a year. After our expenses, I want to say it's probably 70 grand or so. So that's a huge chunk of change coming into the family. And we were able to automate that with a great cleaning person and a great fix it person, where they were, on call, but then also were able to understand when bookings were coming through. And so for the most part, that's pretty passive income at this point. And especially if you have someone in your family that is not working, like a stay-at-home parent, you can talk to your accountant about how to classify them as a real estate professional, where if the majority, they have to work a some certain number of hours per year, and then there's certain tax advantages to that. And you don't have to go get your real estate license to be considered a real estate professional. And so that's something that you may want to look into as well. Also, if you just think about picking up, some kind of entry level properties and having people rent, at least in my market in northern Michigan, long term rentals are hard to find, and so pretty much. If I picked up a property, I know that I could fill it with a quality renter pretty quick. I would hope quality. I'd do background checks and all that. We've only done the short term rentals, and so if I was going to move into the long term rental market, you figure if you do a 15-year loan and someone's paying rent over that 15 years, I'm not saying that I'm going to buy a property every single year, but if I did every year, that means in 15 years I could be selling one of those properties every year, or just have that passive income beyond the mortgage of that. So looking at that, looking at the risk, those are other creative ways. I would say that, you know the area that's the lowest hanging fruit for most therapists is to look at clinical or emotional problems and creating products within that specialty. There are so many self-proclaimed coaches out there, self-proclaimed gurus. We actually have the schooling, the education, the knowledge, the certifications, the licensure to do the work that can help the world. Whereas a lot of these folks, they just have life experience and they say, I can do this. And maybe they can. Maybe they really have figured out a system or a hack or a way to do that. And I don't want to poo poo people just because they didn't go to graduate school. But there's a lot of folks out there that are just selling e-courses and have no idea really what they're doing. And so I think that we as professionals that are licensed can create some amazing content. And so, kind of the model that I've found that works the best if you're looking at doing that, because I would say that's the low hanging fruit for most folks that are listening to this podcast, is to first grow a specialty. So, what is your specialty that you're going to go into? And don't fear getting too niched in, because there's so many people that are talking about trauma. If you can be the person that specifically talks about trauma from being in foster care and now you're married, so you're married and you were in foster care and you talk about trauma, like, you may only get 1,000 people that follow you, but they are going to be the exact clients that you want. And so finding those hyper niches, we might want to say we want 3 different variables. So we want trauma. Okay, that narrows it down to about everybody. We've all had some sort of trauma, but maybe a certain level of trauma. So we're talking, 40% of the population. Then those that were in foster care, okay, that really limited it. And now people that have been in foster care that are now married, ooh, that really limited it more. So if we can have 3 variables or so for our specialty, that really helps narrow it down. And then next, after growing your specialty, you want to grow your audience. A lot of people jump to, what's my product? What's my thing? I'm going to sketch out all of that. You want to wait on that. You want to grow your audience first, because your audience is going to tell you what they want to buy. They're going to tell you, here's what I want. We in Podcast Launch School over at podcastlaunchschool.com have a whole curriculum we give away for free about how you do this through podcasting. So again, that's podcastlaunchschool.com, where we walk through how do you grow your audience. And then when you grow your audience, once you get to that paying side, how do you survey them to have them tell you what they want to buy instead of you having to come up with it? So you're growing your audience. So that could be that you have a podcast. It could be that you're a guest on a bunch of podcasts. You're definitely going to want to have some sort of email funnel. I call it an email course, because we want it to be more like a course than just a newsletter. And so you want to direct people, especially when you're a guest on a podcast, back to some sort of thing so you can stay in contact with them. So then you're growing your audience. You want to have at least 200 people or so on that email list before you even think about launching a product. So then after that, then we want to jump into grow an income. So grow a specialty, grow an audience, grow an income. And so that's where we're going to be surveying that audience. We're going to be talking to them about what do they want. And so you've got all these people that were in foster care that had trauma that now are married and they're listening to your podcast or they're hearing you on other podcasts, they're on your email list. We want to reach out to them and figure out what do they wish that you would offer? Is that an intensive? Is it a some sort of couples retreat? Is it some sort of larger online conference or summit? Is it self-paced e-courses? Is it a membership community? There's so many options. There's no reason for you to have to figure that out. Get your audience to say, hey, we're the kind of people that want a membership community. We want to be in a monthly Zoom call to talk about all the marriage issues. Okay, awesome. So then you don't have to do all the heavy lifting and trying to figure out what they like or what they want.